All right. Okay, so just a couple things before we start. Test grades are in. If you did test corrections, those are updated too. So you don't have another test for this quarter until grades are due, which is next week on Friday. So if you need to do test corrections on test 1, 2, or 3, don't wait until like Thursday next week, or I'm gonna say no. But today after school, tomorrow after school, Thursday after school, next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, but Thursday, I need a day to type stuff in. So plan on that if you need to. If you need to come in advisory, that's no problem. But just kind of keep an eye on your focus. You don't have that much new stuff entering the grade book at this point. Okay? All right, so take a look at your notes for today. We're all sick. Okay. The word that got hole punched is points. Okay, so it should say points of discontinuity. Okay, and a point of discontinuity is going to be a spot in your graph where there's a disconnect. Okay, and these are created by things that cause the denominator of a fraction to equal 0. There are two ways that these can look. The first one is going to be a hole in the graph. Okay, so you might have a parabola, and then there's one dot that is not included, but everywhere else it's included. Okay, so generally for a hole in the graph, it doesn't affect the whole shape, but it just is one dot that's sort of like excluded from the domain. The technical word for this is removable discontinuity. And the reason that it's called a removable discontinuity is because it doesn't affect the overall shape, just that one spot. The other type is a vertical asymptote. Okay, so draw me a dotted vertical line. If that is your vertical asymptote, then essentially what happens is as your graph approaches that x value, it's either going to shoot up to infinity or down to infinity. Okay, so let's say on this side, my graph's coming this way, and then all of a sudden when it approaches that line, it takes a sharp turn and goes up to infinity. Okay, it could also do the same thing and point down. Okay, so on this side, we'll come in towards the line and then shoot down. Okay, but a vertical asymptote is going to be a line that your graph cannot cross. Okay, and it's going to happen at a particular x value. Okay, the technical word for that is going to be an infinite discontinuity. Okay, and you can imagine the reason it's called an infinite discontinuity is because your graph's going up or down to either infinity or positive. Okay, the way to find these is pretty simple. Okay, you are going to start off by factoring the top and the bottom of the expression. And then you're going to look for any factors that the top and the bottom both have so that you can cancel them out. Okay, so you're going to cancel out any repeated factors. If you cross out a repeated factor, that means that that factor would have created a hole in the graph. And for your practice today, it does just call it a hole. It doesn't say removable discontinuity. Okay, so holes are the ones that cross out. Okay, then it says any remaining factors in the denominator. What part of a fraction is that? Top or bottom? Okay, denominator is the bottom. Are going to create vertical asymptotes. And if you have any remaining factors in the numerator, that would be the top. those would create x-intercepts. Okay. So eventually, we're gonna get to the point where you guys are graphing these, but for today, all that you have to be able to do is identify the feature. So let's look at number 1. I think we only have maybe 5 examples, because each of them will take a while. So yeah, we just have 5 questions. So let's look at the first one. Step number 1, we want to factor. Now, factor means to break down into parentheses. So out of this fraction, you'll notice the top, check, it's already done. So we just have to factor the bottom. What method of factoring am I going to use on x squared minus 9? Choices are ABC T-chart, GCF, perfect squares, or grouping. Perfect squares. What's the square root of x squared? It's going to go to an x and another x. And then what's the square root of 9? So it'll be 1 with a plus 3, 1 with a minus 3. Okay, now remember what I said though, the top is already done. So I don't have to do anything here. I'm just going to leave it the way it's written. So it's an x plus 3 and an x minus 1. Okay, from there, let's follow our steps. Okay, we factored top and bottom. Now we're going to cancel out any repeat factors. Is there a factor on top that's also on the bottom? Okay, x plus 3, cross it out. X plus 3 is going to create a hole in the graph where that equals 0. And then remember, we kind of already talked about the shortcut that if it's a plus 3, what is the answer going to come out to be? Minus 3. So if you want to skip this part, you would minus the 3 across and say x equals -3 is where the hole is. Okay, but holes come from the factor that crossed out. Now, next to that, you'll notice a little blank here. Okay, for your practice today, you're going to enter the hole as an ordered pair. So I want you to put -3, comma, something. And we'll talk about how to find the y value later. Okay, but let's keep going. Vertical asymptotes, look at step number 4, are the remaining factors in which part of the fraction? The denominator, which is the bottom. So if I have an x minus 3 left in the bottom, where's the vertical asymptote going to be? So let's set it equal to 0. And then what would the number end up being? Positive. Okay, so my vertical asymptote is going to be at x equals +3. Because that's a vertical line, you're going to leave it just like that. It's not like an x comma y. Okay. Last thing you need to be able to find are the x-intercepts. And in your steps, where are the x-intercepts found? Okay, it says they're the remaining factors in the top. So if I have an x minus 1, can we skip ahead to what that answer would be? If it's an x minus 1, what would it be? Positive 1. Very good. So then I'm going to come down here into the x-intercept blank. I'm going to put x equals +1. Okay, however, for your practice, if you're asked to find an x-intercept, they're going to want it as an ordered pair. So I'm going to put 1, comma, something. Okay, from there, one of these is always going to have the same y value. X-intercepts, in order for you to be on the x-axis. Okay, think about like on a graph. If I want to stay on the x-axis, what does my y have to be? 0. So I automatically know whatever my x-intercept is, I can just pair it with 0. And then I even put there y value is always 0. Okay, however, for the whole, it's not that simple. You are going to take the remaining expression that didn't cancel out, and you're going to put it into your calculator. So originally I had all this, but now that I've canceled stuff out, all that I have is an x minus 1 over an x minus 3. You're going to put that into y equals in your calculator. So let's review how to do that. Turn your calculator on. This is why I had you pick it up today. Okay, y equals is right here. Clear out whatever's in there. To open the fraction, there are multiple ways to do it. The easiest way is to hit alpha and then link right next to it. And it'll open your pretty fraction. You can also do it under alpha y equals. You can also do it under math number. As long as you know a way to open the fraction, doesn't matter. On top, we're putting x minus 1. On bottom, we're putting x minus 3. From there, I'm looking for the y value that goes with -3. So then I'm going to go into the chart using second graph. And then I'm going to find -3's partner. Do you see it right here? -3 comma what? 2/3. Okay. Now, I want you to find +3 for the vertical asymptote in your chart. Go find +3. What does it say next to +3? Error, because can I touch 3 in the graph? If it's a vertical asymptote, that means you're not allowed to touch it. Last number I want you to find is 1's partner. What's 1's partner? 0. So you should be able to confirm all of those things you found in the calculator. Yes, sir. Huh? Okay, so do parentheses. X is right here, -1. And then close the parentheses. And then you're going to put in x minus 3 on the bottom. And then you go into your second graph. So then go up to -3. That's where we're getting the 2/3. And then go down to +3. You'll see your error. And then 1. Okay. All right. Any questions on how to put that in the calculator? All right, let's go to number 2. 1 down, 4 to go. Okay, take a look at number 2. Which part of number 2 is already done for you? Top or bottom? Bottom is already broken down. We're going to have to do the top ourselves, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put a little check mark there. Bottom's already done. I can keep it a 3x and an x minus 2. Okay, but the top we're going to have to break down. Here are your choices. It could be ABCT chart, could be square roots, could be GCF, could be grouping. What's the top going to be? Okay, very good. Label your ABC or your T chart. Which ones do I multiply for the chart? So that'd be 1 in the front times -10 is -10. What numbers will times to 10? 2 and 5. There another pair? 1 and 10. Thank you. Very good. Okay, and then out of those choices, if it's a negative chart, remember you want a minus to get your B, which is what number? B is a 3. So we're picking 5 and 2. Now, where do I want to put the minus, on the bigger or the smaller number if I want my 3 to stay +3? Smaller, so I'm going to put it on the 2. Okay, from here, normally you would do x squared minus 2x plus 5x, blah, 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 underline your partners, takes forever, eventually you get to the parentheses. Okay, however, since we're going to factor a lot for this unit, if this number is a 1, you may have noticed that whatever numbers you pick are the same numbers that end up in the parentheses. So if I'm picking -2 and 5, my parentheses are going to be x minus 2 and x plus 5. Okay, so at this point, we've been factoring the long way for long enough that if it's a 1 for your A, just go straight to your parentheses and skip those middle steps. Okay, from there, what can we cross out? And if -2 crosses out, that's going to create a hole where? at positive 2, and then I'm gonna put 2 comma something. I'll go back and find that later. X left on bottom in the front is a 3x. What is that gonna create? Your choices are x-intercept or vertical asymptote. Vertical asymptote. And if it's an x on the outside, do you remember what that goes with? Outside starts with an O, it's gonna be 0. Okay, then last one is gonna be any x's left on the top. Those create x-intercepts. And if I have an x plus 5, where will the x-intercept be? -5. But I have to write that one as an ordered pair. But because it's an x-intercept, I already know the y value. What is it? 0. Okay, now let's find the y value for 2. You are only going to put into your calculator the parts of the equation that did not cross out. So for example, I'm going to put y equals. What is going to stay on the top? X plus 5 on top, and on bottom, just a 3x. Okay. So then we're going to type that into y equals. Alpha link for your fraction. And then in your chart, you're finding 2's partner. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. Okay, so second graph, 2's partner is what? 7, 6. Now let's double check the other stuff. Okay, at 0, what happens if there's an asymptote there? Error. You should be able to see that in the chart. Okay, and then go to -5, double check that it's also partnered with 0. Okay, and we see that it is. Make sense? Okay. So then I'm going to put right here next to the x equals 0. This one should always be an error in the table. Okay. All right, 3 more left. Take a look at the next one. Okay, for the next one, the top and the bottom, neither one of them's done. We're going to have to do both. So let's do the T chart first on bottom since we just practiced that. Label your ABC. And then A times C is going to be 1 times -14, which is -14. What partners do I have for 14? Okay, 1, 14, or 2, 7. Very good. This is an add or subtract chart. Top number is -14, so I want to subtract to get what number? I want it to be 5. So who are we picking? Okay, 2 and 7. Where should I put the minus? The bigger number, the smaller number? Smaller, because I want my 5 to stay positive, right? Okay, from here, if your A is a 1, you get to shortcut straight to the parentheses. Can I do it? Yes. So it's going to be an x with a -2 and an x with a +7. Okay, now let's look at the top. We know it's not a T chart because I don't have enough letters for an A, a B, and a C. Okay, is it going to be GCF or perfect squares? GCF is correct. Here's why. Okay, 2, I can cut that in half, but I can't square root it. Remember, that's not the same thing. So we're going to GCF and divide the 2 out of the top. So my 2 is going to come out. GCF divided by 2. What's left over from the 2x squared? X squared. And then what about the 98 divided by 2? 49. Good job. That's right. Now, that's not all the way broken down. We're going to have to do one more thing to the top. Now that I've taken out the 2, how can I break this down? Square rooted or perfect squared? What's the square root of x squared? X and x. And then what's the square root of 49? And remember, one of them needs to be plus, one of them needs to be minus. So plus 7 minus 7. Okay. Then across the bottom, I have the x minus 2 and the x plus 7. Is there anything else I'm missing? That 2 needs to stay. Okay, if you forget to put this 2, it's gonna make the whole come out wrong later. So make sure, even if you divide a number out to the front, it needs to stay there. Okay, from there, what will cross out? And if the plus 7's cross out, where will the whole be in the graph? X equals -7. But remember, wholes are gonna be written as ordered pairs, so it'll be -7 comma something. Okay, vertical asymptotes, are your x's left over on the bottom? Do I have one? It's an x minus 2. So where will the vertical asymptote happen at? +2. And then x-intercepts or x is left on the top. Do I have one? Then x with a -7. Then my x-intercept would happen at +7. Very good. And then remember, that one's also an ordered pair, but the standard y value will be what number? So 7, 0. Then the only thing that you have left to find is the y value for the whole. What am I gonna type into my calculator as the simplified expression? Y equals what? X minus 7 over what? X minus 2. Is that good? What are we missing? Don't forget that too. It's gotta be there or your number's gonna come out wrong for the y value and it'll count it wrong in your practice. Okay. So from there, go ahead and type that in. We're looking up -7's partner. -7's partner. Go to y equals. Yep. Clear that out. So alpha will put your 2 in the front. And parentheses. And x right here. -7. And then on the bottom, you want an x minus 2. Then going to the chart, the second graph, you're finding -7's part. You actually need to put the 2 in front. Parentheses, right here. -7. And then on bottom, x minus 2. All right, have we found -7's partner? Is it 28 over 9? Good. Okay, 2 more left. Look at the next one. Okay, next one. What part of number 4 is already done for you? Okay, bottom's already good to go because it's already broken down into parentheses. Okay, but the top, we're gonna have to do some work on that. So can I square root that if they're both 4s? Are they both square rootable? Okay, but what should I be checking before that? GCF always comes first. It doesn't matter if it's a T-chart, perfect squares, whatever. GCF gets to go first. So what can I take out of both of these?
4.
Okay, a 4. Anything else?
4x.
4x. What's that gonna leave me behind with if I had a 4x cubed and I took out a regular 4x?
4x squared.
X squared. And then I have to leave something here, so if it's a -4x divided by 4x, now that's a minus
1.
4 divided by 4 is 1. Good? Okay, that's not broken down all the way, we're gonna have to go one more. What can I do on this now? Square roots. What's the square root of x squared? An x. So I'll do an x and an x separately. And then what about the square root of 1? It'll be what? 1 again, 1 with a plus, 1 with a minus. Okay, then also don't forget that 4x that I had pulled out at the beginning, that needs to stay in the formula. Okay, then the bottom of that has already been done, so I'm just gonna copy it across. So I had an x plus 2 and an x minus 1. Okay, from there, we're looking for something to cross out. What's gonna cross out? Minus 1s, which means where will the whole be? Positive 1, 1 comma something. Vertical asymptotes are the bottom leftovers. What number will it happen at? X equals -2. And x-intercepts are top leftovers. How many top x's are there left over? 2. Then that means that this graph is going to have 2 x-intercepts. That's okay. Okay, one of them is an x on the outside. What answer goes with that? Anytime x is on the outside, it's going to be 0. And then what about the x with the plus 1? It'll be a negative. Okay, but because 2 x's were left in the formula on top, that means that there are going to be 2 of that feature. Okay, then from there, my ordered pair would be 0, 0, and -1, 0. And remember, when you're scanning through that chart, you should be able to see 2 different zeros in your table. Okay, from there, simplified expression to find our y value, y equals. On top, I had a 4x and an x plus 1. And then on bottom, we had an x plus 2. Go ahead and type that in. We're looking for 1's partner. Okay, 1's partner. That's remember 0, 0. I think. Yeah, you put a minus, she put a plus. Okay, we getting the y value for that? What do we get? 8/3. Good. All right, one more left. Take a look at number 8. Okay, go ahead and factor that for me. Okay, we don't have enough pieces to do ABC, so our only choices are GCF or square roots. What are we doing on top? GCF, what is it gonna be? 4x, very good. Yeah, 2x also, but we want to take out the biggest thing. So the 4x is going to come out to the front. What will be left over from your 4x squared? Just an x. What about from the -20? If I divide that by 4. Okay, on the bottom, we have an x squared minus 6x. Remember, GCF could be a number, a letter, or both. So what is it going to be for the bottom? Just an x. Very good. So my x goes to the front. What's going to be left over from x squared minus 6x? X minus 6. Very good. Okay, look at your factors. Is there anything that can cross out? Okay, so let's talk about, they have to be identical. So if I want to cross out a 4x, there has to also be a 4x. Do I have that? No, but do I have an x and an x? Then I can still cross out the x's. So it has to be the same thing. So don't try to cross out too much. If all I have in common is the x part, then I can only cross out the x's, and the 4 is gonna end up staying as part of your final formula. So for your hole in the graph, it's gonna be what if it's on the outside? X equals 0. 0 comma something, we'll have to find that. Okay, X is left over on the bottom, create vertical asymptotes. So if I have an X minus 6 left over on the bottom, where will the vertical asymptote be? X equals 6, good job, Anaya. Okay, then one more thing left. I have an X left over on top. It's an X minus 5. So what would that create? What would my x-intercept be at? Positive 5. Now, question. Should I also list 0 if there's a 4 on the outside? No, because what does it have to have on the outside with it? An X. If there's not an X, the number by itself doesn't count. There has to be an X there for you to get an extra answer. Okay? So then that'll be 5 comma 0. Remember, all x-intercepts have the same y value. So all that you are finding right now for your last question is the y value of the whole. So type it into your calculator, please. So it'd be 4x minus 5 on top, x minus 6 on bottom. And then you're looking for whose partner? 0. Zero's partner, what are we getting? 10/3 is right. Now, let's just do our last little double check. Can you find 6's partner? What should it be if there's an asymptote at 6?
Error.
It should say error, does it? Okay, and what about 5? 5's partner should be 0, and it is, then you know that you did it right. Make sense? All right, so pull out your Chromebooks. Let's get started on our practice. You have a blank sheet on the back of your notes to start with for scratch paper, but I have a ton more as well. Yeah.
That was so fun.
Color wasn't even salty back then.
Hey man, that's how it goes.
You should add that for just. You still put this.
We're gonna do 2 questions together. We're gonna start off with, I think, the second one. Yes. Okay, so once you get it pulled up, go to your second question. Remember, you have scratch paper on the back of that sheet. Go ahead and start breaking it down for me, please. You know what? This slide will go away. We eventually will have this. The second one, yes. Okay, so I'll put mine up there since some of y'all are going kind of slow. So it's 5x plus 4 across the top. 3x minus 10 or minus 30 across the bottom. Okay. Anything we can do on top? 5x plus 4? No, keep it the same. What about on the bottom? Okay, what can we take out on bottom? Divide by 3, take a GCF, so go ahead and do that for me. So my 5x plus 4 is staying. But on bottom, I can take out a 3, we said. What is that gonna leave me with on the bottom in parentheses? Okay, good. From here, what is the question asking you for? Asymptote or whole? Asymptote, are those the ones that cancel out or no? No, which ones cancel out? Whole, so we'll get to an example for that, but vertical asymptotes are bottom leftovers. So if nothing crosses out, do I have a bottom leftover? Yes, how many? How many X's are left on the bottom? 1, so in your drop down menu, you're gonna pick 1 vertical asymptote. Okay, on your screen, it should have a drop down for 0, 1, or 2. And then when you type it in, if it's an X minus 10 left over, what are you gonna put? X equals 10, yeah? If you just put 10, it'll count it off. Okay. So it'll look like this. So in your homework, you're gonna do 1 vertical asymptote, and then you're gonna put X equals 10 like that. Good? Alright, we're gonna do one more question together. So if you wanna jump ahead, we're gonna do second from the bottom. If you wanna pull that question. Second from the bottom on your list. Okay, you should be looking at 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Go ahead and write it down. This is the last one we'll do together, then you'll have some time to work on your own. So 2x squared plus 11x plus 5, 3x plus 15. Okay. First question, let's start with the bottom. Bottom's easier. What can we take out? 30. What would be left over? X plus 5. Okay, for the top, what's the method? Okay, ABC, go ahead and set it up. But then here's my question. When we get to the T-chart step, are we gonna get to shortcuts to parentheses? No, what's the rule for that? Has to be what? A 1 in the front. If it's a 2, we're gonna have to work this one out the long way. So it's still an ABC like we did on the notes, but we're just not gonna be able to use that shortcut. A times C, what's the number? 10. So I have 1 and 10 or. Okay, because it's a positive 10, what do I want it to be when I add them up? 11. So I'm picking 1 and 10, but then I'm going to write no shortcut. Okay, why no shortcut? Because it's not an A1, it's an A of 2. That means you can't do that little skip to the end. So it'll be a 2x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 5. And remember, technically, I still have all 11 x's. I'm just breaking it up into a 1x and a 10x. Underline your partners. So I have these 2 and these 2. What can I take out of the first 2 partners? Could be a number, a letter, or both. X, very good. What is going to be left behind when I pull out the X? Okay, plus 1, and then what here? 2x. So 2x plus 1. What about from my second partners? A 10x plus 5. What can I take out? 5. And the 5 is going to leave me with what? Hopefully the same thing. 2x plus 1 again. That's right. So from here, if these match, remember that's my first factor. And then the second factor comes from what I had GCF'd out. So I'll have my little matchy factors, 2x plus 1. What is my secondary factor? And that looks familiar. Where else is there an x plus 5? The bottom. So those are going to create what feature when I cross them out? holes and look on your paper or on your computer, what feature are you finding in that section? You're looking for the holes, that's the ones that cross out. So I know there's gonna be a hole at x equals -5, but you can't type it in like that. You're gonna have to type it in as an ordered pair. So in your calculator, what are you gonna plug in to find the y value that goes with the -5? 2x plus 1/2. And I think this answer comes out to a whole number. Okay. So then go to -5, find your partner, you're typing in the whole ordered pair with parentheses. Okay. All right, then I have a ton of scratch paper if you need it. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. So then you have 2, so use the drop down menu to pick 2. Actually, almost. What would be left over if that was the 9x? A 3x minus 10, so put a 3 right there. And so then remember your minus 10 will go to a plus 10, but then you still have to divide over. Any scratch paper, anybody? And so then when you click that down to 2, you'll have 2 blanks, you'll do x equals 0 for the one in the front. And then that.
What?
Okay, what equals? You're gonna type in 2x plus 1 on top. You remember how to open the fraction? It's alpha, yeah. Or you can do alpha fractions, but, okay, so 2x plus 1. It should be -5. Yeah. And then do second, right? -5 partner. There we go. Yep. And you'll type it in with the parentheses. It should be -3 for your Wi-Fi. Let me see your Wi-Fi. You forgot the over 3. Because remember, it's a 2x plus 1 left on top and a 3 on bottom. So just put divide by 3 and it'll actually be fine. There you go. Right. Yes. Yes. What is that? Yes, sir. Okay, so for the top, let's try square root. Let's do square root of x squared. X and x, so break down your 2 parentheses. Like this. You'll do an x. And then an x. And then what's the square root for 1? It's gonna be plus or minus 1. Okay, now for the bottom, what can you take out of both of those? There will be an x. Is there also a number? 9 and 30. What can they both divide by? So take out a 3x. And then what's left over? Open your parentheses. Yes. Yes, perfect. Okay, now is anything gonna cross out? You gotta be the exact same to cross out. So there is one, right? So then if you're looking for vertical asymptotes, you're looking for X left on the bottom, see how you have to. So do 2 vertical asymptotes. What are you gonna put for the X in the front on the outside? Well, okay, so do 3x equals 0. And then what happens when you divide by 3 on 0? So do divide by 3, divide by 3. 0 divided by 3 is. Huh? And remember the shortcut that we said anytime your X is on the outside? 0 is your first answer. So put X equals 0. And now do the same thing with the other one, when you have the 3x minus 10, set that equal to 0 as well. And I have to set it. You ready? So your other one, yes. Okay, y'all. We have one other thing to talk about that I don't want to forget. So, y'all know UTD has like a U Teach program. So they work with aspiring teachers. And so we have one that's gonna teach y'all a lesson. It won't be the whole semester, just one lesson, but you wanna introduce yourself?
My name is Beatrice, and I'm in the teaching program at, and yeah, I'm working on my, bachelor's.
So she's gonna be observing a couple times and then she'll teach a lesson at the end of this month. So what I'm passing out to you right now, I'm gonna count it for extra credit just to try to get it back from you. But when she does her lesson, she's gonna have to video it, which means your face could be in the video. It's not going on YouTube, it's just for her teaching class that she's in. So if you're 18, you can sign this right now. But if you're not 18, your parents have to give permission for that. So look at the back side of your sheet here. Put your name right here. Okay, if you're not 18, the top 2 boxes are for you. Your parents are gonna say, I do give permission for my kid to be in this very specific purpose video, or I do not. If you are already 18, the bottom boxes are for you, and you can give permission for that yourself. So you're either gonna put, I don't mind being in the video, I do give permission, or I'd rather not be in the video, I do not give permission, okay? If you're 18, you can sign and give it back to me now, you'll get extra credit. Okay, everybody else, if you're under 18, you'll have to get a parent signature and bring it back, but you have several weeks to do that, yes? Oh. All right, and so then she's gonna be kind of walking around helping, so you can ask her just like you can ask me. You can. Yeah. That's exactly right, so then what's 30x divided by 30? This 10, perfect. And then is anything gonna cross out? No, so then you're not gonna have any x's to cross out. How many then are left on the bottom? So drop down and you pick 2. For the x on the outside, what are you gonna pick for that? So do x equals 0 in the first box. And then for your second box, for the 3x minus 10, if you set that equals to 0, what answer do you get? So the minus 10 would go plus 10, and then how would you link the 2? Divide, so 10 divided by 2, so you balance equals positive 10, and then over 3 or slash 3. Yep, we got it. Yes, sir. Put that answer there. So since squared and 9x squared. 3x and 3x. And then square root of 64. So plus or minus 8. And then we're looking for what can cross out. Anything? Nope. Now, actually, your bottom, we get to this. Because how many x, what was it an x squared on the bottom? different x, right? So when you take the two out, you're just gonna have the x plus seven, you won't also have the x plus seven. That would only be if it was x squared, then 49 would be squared. Anything gonna cross out? And you're in the vertical asymptote section, so how many x's are left on the bottom? One. And then what is it? X equals. Yes, correct. Oh. Did you factor the top? So if these cross out, then it would be a whole. So for vertical asymptotes, you're gonna put none, correct? Because none of your x's on the bottom don't cancel. Anyway. Yeah, all right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. 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 You just need me to reset it?
Yeah.
Do you know what you did wrong? So you took out a 3, exponential, so that these crossed out. And you're looking for asymptotes. Remember, if it crosses out, it's really a hole.
Yes,
So.
grade sheet.